Assalamu alaikum students. Here is Hussain Ahmed Islamia Boys College, Quetta. Today we are going to discuss homeostasis. That is the first chapter of second year biology. When we discuss the homeostasis, the term homeostasis is derived from two Greek words, that is homeos and stasis. Homeo means unchanging while stasis means standing. When we take it in a simplest form, it means that staying the same. Homeostasis mostly concerned with the internal environment of an organism. The internal environment, that is the condition of the inside of an organism, but these conditions may be affected more or less by the pH or the external temperature. When we define the homeostasis, it means that the maintenance of constant internal environment. Now, to avoid making exception and qualification, we will consider the homeostasis as it's applied to the human body. There is no specific organ which control the homeostasis, but only brain it do that function which by which the homeostasis may be controlled, while the skin, the kidneys, the liver, the endocrine system, the nervous system, and the sensory system, all these they play a very important role to maintain the homeostasis. The skin is also a homeostatic organ which helps in maintaining the body temperature within a limit range. Now, the external temperature varies during the day and night, and also from season to season, sometimes by as much as 40 degrees Celsius, but the human body temperature also 36.7, and mostly the average temperature of the human body is 37 degrees Celsius. This achievement of the homeostasis is done by sweating, vasodilation, vasoconstriction, and shivering. When we take overheating, that is sweating and vasodilation, and when we take overcooling, that is vasoconstriction, sweat production, and shivering to stop the shivering. What is sweating? If the body temperature rises, the sweat glands in the skin are activated and secrete sweats on the surface of the skin. When the sweat evaporates, it takes heat from the body and cool it down. While when we discuss vasodilation, that is what is vasodilation, and vasodilation, the body temperature rises, the blood vessels in the skin dilate, means they become wider and allow more blood to flow near the surface. The heat loss from the blood through the skin helps cool the circulating blood. You people see in the diagram also that. And on the other hand, what's vasoconstriction? If the body temperature falls, the blood vessels in the skin contract. Less warm blood flows near the surface, so less heat is lost. Shivering, uncontrollable burst of rapid muscular contraction in the limbs release heat as a result of respiration in the muscles. Well, all these done by a specific mechanism which is known as feedback mechanism. We define the feedback mechanism that when a mechanism is controlled by its own production, it's called feedback mechanism. There are two types of feedback mechanism, that is negative feedback mechanism and positive feedback mechanism. What's negative feedback mechanism? It is a system of control in which the outgoing impulses contract the effects which produce the incoming impulses. We explain that the homeostasis, negative feedback mechanism, it applies to many systems in the body, that is temperature regulation. If the blood temperature rises, a heat gain center in the brain sends nerve impulses to the skin, which causes vasodilation and sweating. I discuss in these vasodilation, sweating, and also cold the body in the previous slides. If the body blood temperature falls, it stimulates a heat loss center in the brain, which sends impulse to the skin, causing vasoconstriction. The sensation of sweating and shivering, these changes reduce heat loss from the skin. The warmer or the cooler blood provides negative feedback to the thermoregulatory center in the brain. Now, we will take an example of the negative feedback mechanism, that is when the pituitary body produces follicle stimulating hormones, that is FSH, which promotes the development of the ovarian follicles and causes the ovaries to produce estrogen. Estrogen also acts on the uterus and causes its lining to thicken. When the estrogen reaches a certain level in the blood, it acts on the pituitary and stops the production of more FSH. In this case, estrogen is exerting a negative feedback on the pituitary. If the estrogen level in the blood falls, the pituitary begins to secrete FSH again. This is the diagram which I make. That is the brain which produce the follicle stimulating hormone come to the ovary, and estrogen come into the uterus, and also estrogen go to the brain. By this diagram you can explain. On the other hand, the second example of the feedback mechanism is positive feedback mechanism. It's a process in which the end product of an action cause more of the action of that action to occur. We will take example of the positive feedback mechanism, that is labor in childbirth. Childbirth, in the fetus head moves into the birth canal, that is vagina, at start of labor, which causes the birth canal to stretch beyond its set point amount of stretch, which is detected by sensor, that is receptors in the vaginal wall, and feedback to the hypothalamus of the brain, which release oxytocin, which stimulates stronger and more frequent uterine contraction, which pushes the fetus, which causes more vaginal stretch, which produced more oxytocin, and so on, greatly amplifying and speeding of labor contraction until birth. That is the homeostasis, the feedback mechanism, and negative and positive feedback mechanism. We will discuss in the next lecture, that is what is urea cycle, what is kidney, and all the other topics which are present in your textbook. Thanks you. Allah Hafiz.